Hey, this is part 2 of the series on creating a rally stage with Blender. In this part we're gonna fix some scale proportions, blend different textures of the road, create lots of cool variations on the terrain, fill in the gaps around our path, and make a nice blending on the cross section at the center of the stage. Let's go back to Blender so we can fix that scale and add a little bit of variation on these textures. So I'm gonna select this two, our track, and we're gonna select the drive line 2. I'm gonna scale it up from the 3D cursor again, like a lot. And we might get an error here on the drive line because we just scale it up and we need to apply the scale to the drive line. Okay, so apply the scale and everything goes bananas here. That's why it's so bad for you to not have things with the scale applied. So it's just better for you to try do all of this at the very beginning of the process. So I'm gonna. So for us to not get that weird effect going on here, I'll just select here our curve and make a little bit of an offset here in the middle. Let's go a little bit up. Maybe this will get a little bit less bad. So right now let's add some texture variation, and we're gonna go to the shaders, and I'm going to duplicate this with Shift D, and I'm gonna choose here my other texture, the gravel road, gravel road. Okay, I'm gonna call it gravel road as well. It's always good for you to properly name everything, because at some point of the process you get some error, some exporting error. The add-on will give you a name where the error is, and if everything is not with proper names, we will not know where you did a mistake. So name everything properly. So I'm gonna click here on the diffuse texture 2, a bit small, diffuse texture 2, and it will appear these other sockets. I'm gonna put the texture color and texture alpha here, and everything low. Sometimes there is this problem. Everything turns black for some reason, and you can solve that just by clicking here on the minus on the track settings, clicking plus again, just putting the word again. Now it is working fine. Now everything has turned into gravel, and what you need to do is to put here some information on the alpha in case of a geom block like this, like this, the geom block type. It will act like a mask for transitioning the two textures here. So we're gonna create this on the layout here. I'm gonna put this on the solid view and choose here on the drop down, choose the color here of the objects we see on the viewport to be the attribute. And right now, this you don't have to do that. It's just for us to see what we are gonna do. So here on the object data properties, I'm going to go down to the color attributes, and I'm going to create one here. I like to use the face corner attribute in byte color. You don't have to use this, but if you choose one, you have to use the same in all the shaders. Actually, you don't really need to, but if one time you have a same object with two different attributes that have different settings between this type of domain and data type, you get an error and it will not work properly on the game. Okay, so you can create here, set a color, set a name, click OK. Now everything is black because we're seeing this one. If I create another one here and it is white, we can just click and switch what we are seeing here on the viewport shading color. Okay, but actually there's another way of doing that too. You can just switch here from the object mode to the Vertex Painting mode, and it will create one here. So this is the fastest way, and it is already automatically face corner and byte color. So that's why I rather create like this, so I never get to mess up like choosing wrong here. So I'm gonna choose another name here. I'm gonna call it maybe Blind, because we're gonna use that for blending. And if like I paint a little bit here are my colors, and I can press X to switch between them. So you can start painting here, but it's not really working, because actually the brush here is trying to paint on the beginning of the array modifier that is right over here. And when we have the array, it will just repeat the information along the road. So I'm gonna press Ctrl Z, and at this point we will have to apply the array modifier. So I'm gonna go again. You can use the Pi menu, Ctrl Tab, go to the Vertex Paint. You might see me doing like fast like this. And here I can paint here like black. And if I go to the render view, nothing changes, of course, because I gotta go to the shading and add here an input and attributes and choose my color here. I actually don't want to use that name. Use the blend. I'm gonna copy it and paste here. And I'm gonna just plug the color here on the color socket. And actually we need to plug it on the alpha socket. We can go back to the layout, and we just have to go on the Vertex Paint again and paint whatever we want. Okay, I want basically to the road to be half tarmac and half gravel. And I want to paint just the part that is over the gravel, over the part that goes this way here. And I can do that just by adding some masks. So I can go on the edit mode. And actually here on the modifiers, I'm gonna choose these two options here. So I can see the mesh as they are being deformed by the curve. Okay, so I'm gonna press 3 here. It's the same that I'm going up here and choosing to select faces. I can switch between them by pressing 1, 2, and 3. I'm pressing 3 to select the faces, and I'm gonna select the face here that goes behind, or I mean goes underneath. I'm gonna press Alt and select this loop, and press Ctrl plus for the selection to grow. Press Ctrl Y to invert the selection, and get back to the Vertex Paint here, and choose right over here to mask the selected masks, so the selected faces. So now I cannot paint on these ones. I can just paint on the mesh they are all selected. So that is very handy. I'm gonna make some tweaking here on my curve so this part goes underneath. Move it down. Oh, the reason we are actually seeing that weirdly, as you can see, I'm gonna move this down a lot, but it still looks like it is on top, is because when we go here on File, Import, and Image Displays, it offers these settings here for you to, here on the blend mode, for you to see either blend or clip or hashed or opaque. So you can change that afterwards as well, here on the shading settings, and down here I can collapse that. Here on the settings we have blend mode, and actually with the ground you can just leave that as opaque, which will solve that. Or if it is a vegetation, it's actually better for you to use alpha hashed. It will draw better in the game, and we will not get this kind of artifacts as we are having here. I'm gonna leave that opaque for now. Okay, now it's looking much better, and we have, like I said, part gravel and part tarmac. You can actually increase a little bit more. You can also go over here and blur a little bit the positionings, make they look a little bit softer. So here it is. I'm gonna save it now. You should have saved that early. I actually have an old version here. I'm gonna save on top of it. The test stage, not test stage. This skid pad now. Skid pad. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of variation on these surfaces. We can start by maybe changing a little bit the shape of the curves. I see in like rallycross stages that usually the gravel parts have lots of cambers. So we're gonna do a little bit of those. It's actually pretty simple to do that with a curve. You just have to press Ctrl T like this and twist the curve around. There's actually something very important to keep in mind here, because sometimes when you're messing with the tilt right here and changing the rest of the road, you're actually gonna give this effect that is very annoying. Like you go down here, the tilt changes here, you go up, you lose completely the camber you had here. So the way you avoid that is very simple too. You just have to go here on the curve settings and here on the twist method. That is basically how he calculates the twist between one segment to another, and you press here the Z up, so he will try to just always let basically the normal of the segment pointing up on the Z axis. So now if I do crazy stuff here, I can change here and the camber remains the same. So very important. So now I'm gonna do a little bit of camber here, not too crazy like this, and some little bit here too, maybe a little bit here, so I can go okay. And I also want to add a little bit of variation on the surfaces itself. So I have a very interesting technique of doing that. I actually am doing that for a very little time, but I already liked it a lot. So it is with shape keys. I'm gonna press plus here and make something like a hue. You know, it's not actually a hue, but it's deformation that goes up basically. So I'm calling it here. I'm gonna click here so I can change it from the edit mode, and I'm gonna basically sculpt a little bit of what happens on the side of the tarmac road, much like something like this. I'm gonna press Alt and click here on the edge, so I can select all the edges and move them up. And at this point, you may experience some weird stuff going on if your track is really long, because as far as you are from the origin of the object, that in this case is just right here, you will not be able to control it, find your transformations, because Blender basically uses this point here as a reference. So what you can do in that case, if that is your case, you can change the transformed pivot here again to the 3D cursor, and then put the 3D cursor around where you are on the viewport. So right now I can make some better adjustments, and I basically just gonna do like a continuous mountain over all the surroundings of the track. You're gonna do like this and this. This is just an example. Of course, you can do other crazy stuff with this, and this will do, I guess. It doesn't have to be 100% symmetrical. Okay, and I will put this light down right now and do maybe something like a ramp, you know, like a ditch, called ditch. Put this up on the one. You cannot make any modifications here if this is not on the one. So I'm doing the same, but this time I'm gonna, instead of just dropping it down, I'm gonna choose here the proportional editing, and with the scroll button I'm gonna choose here what happens with the surrounding edges, something like this. Actually, I'm gonna choose here to sphere. It's better. So this is gonna be the ditch. And now the key on this method is that you're gonna have two vertex groups. Vertex groups, if you don't know, is just you get a bunch of vertex and store inside a group like this. So I'm gonna call this one hue and this one ditch. So I'm gonna push the hue shape key on one and put here a vertex group hue. Okay, and the ditch I'm gonna put also on one, and the vertex group gonna be the ditch. Okay, this. So it seems like we have a little bit of a bug here. It should not be showing anything here because our vertex group is basically empty. It has no groups. But if I go here and select a bunch of groups like this and click on assign, then you can see it is only affecting those groups of vertices. Same thing here with ditch. Oh, it is working right now, so I guess this is just some bug. So you can go, of course, here manually and sign here on the ditches in here, right here. But the easiest way is to go over object mode and select here the weight painting, or just Control Tab weight paint. Now you can see here the influence of each groups here. And what is best to do is to just set your weight here to like, I don't know, 0.5. and start painting. The nice of this method is that you will not be worried about just painting here on the side of the road without maybe messing around with the surface of the tarmac. You just have to paint here. You can also turn off the overlays here and just paint here like there is no tomorrow. You can also go here with weight 0 and remove everything your surface. And you can also increase here and get your strength way down. So you will paint little by little. Let me show you what I mean. Like this. And over this side, I'm gonna switch to the ditch group. You can see here, let me turn off. This is the hue, and this I'm gonna switch to the ditch without leaving the weight paint mode. And this on, off. So I can go really hard here, like it's in the edge of the cliff. Okay, you can also go here on the viewport overlays and switch here the wireframe on and lower a little bit the opacity. It may help you to perceive the transformation you're doing better. And I think the next obvious thing that we need to do here is deal with these big holes in the middle of the track. At this stage, I like to let this stage right at the end of the stage, because we're gonna have to apply some modifiers, and from this on it'll be much more harder to fix things if you need to later on. So I'm gonna go here to the modifiers, and actually I'm gonna name this properly too, road mesh, and this is gonna be my road curve. Now I'm gonna duplicate this. Okay, gonna press the right button to drop it on the same place, and I'm gonna call it like side mesh or something. And now I'm gonna apply this. Oh, here it is a problem. You cannot apply this. By the way, I press Ctrl A with the cursor here on top. You can apply any modifiers, the same as going on the drop down and pressing apply. But you cannot apply mesh to the shape key. I mean, you cannot apply any modifier to a mesh with shape keys. So in this case, you're gonna have to use another strategy. It's actually pretty simple. There is a way that you can go and apply lots of modifiers at once on a mesh, and this will solve our problem here with the modifiers. So here in the, actually gonna need to press F3. If you haven't changed any configuration of the Blender, F3 will by default open the search bar, which is very useful and handy. And I'm gonna search here for convert, and here we can convert object from mesh from curve and curve from mesh. But we can also convert mesh from mesh. So if I click here, it has converted, applied the modifiers for me, and all my shape keys are gone, and we have here a solid applied mesh. What I like to do too is go here. I actually use a lot this, because when you are working with shape keys like that, you cannot just go over here and export your track. Everything will go wrong. I mean, let me press Ctrl Z here. Okay, so I have everything back to where it was. If you try to just export, if you try just to export as it is, it will get in the game like looking like this. Like there is no shape keys applied, because when you export meshes that have modifiers here, you can have lots of modifiers, it's fine, but the game can't apply it as you cannot apply here with the shape keys on. So before exporting your map, you're gonna have to go here, F3, type convert, and convert to mesh every time, and export. And then afterwards, if you want to, you have to press Ctrl Z, or maybe not save it, so you can go back to having a mesh you can edit. That's why I always save like this with versions, and I can press here like plus on the numpad and save as. If I screw anything by some chances, I can always reopen another version. So what you may do here is just go over this convert. You just type it here, click on the right mouse button, and add quick favorites. So now if I press Q here, you have this quick favorite menu that you just apply everything much faster. You can now actually add lots of things here on the quick menu. Just keep in mind that it is context sensitive. So if I am here on the edit mode, for example, it will not work, because you cannot convert the mesh to a mesh from the inside of a mesh. So if it is not working, but by any chances you might be on the wrong mode here. So that was a lot of talks for us just to apply the transformations of the mesh. And what we're gonna continue doing is go on the edit menu, and we're gonna select the inner loops here. I'm gonna click Alt and click this edge here, select all the loop, Alt Shift and select the other one. And from here, I'm gonna just press Ctrl plus on the numpad until I have left only 2 of these loops here. And I'm gonna press X and delete them, delete faces. If I turn this visibility off, this is what we're gonna get. So now what I'm gonna do is make a real mess with this mesh here. I'm gonna be extruding like this mesh over here to the center, so we can have a way to close this hole here. Afterwards, we're gonna to fix texturing and make everything look nice and pretty. So first of all, since we have this complex iteration here on the surface, I'm gonna start with it, and I'm gonna actually delete some of the vertices here, some of the faces. I'm gonna again select some faces, and since they are like hidden there, I'm gonna again use the Ctrl plus menu, X, delete faces, leave them like they were just about to touch each other. The same here, Ctrl plus, delete the faces, here the same faces, and here the same, delete the faces. Now I'm gonna start doing some crazy things here. I'm gonna select these 2 vertices. This is gonna be some manual labor. I'm gonna press M and merge them at the center, like this. Do the same thing with this, merge the center. And this one, I'm gonna have a little bit more careful. I'm gonna be more careful because if I turn this on here, this is going to be on the edge of the road. So I wanna it to be as close as it is right now here on the edge, because I don't want it to go over the road somehow, or maybe get out of the place. Okay, so I'm gonna hide it again, and I actually gonna select this first and then select the other one and press M again, but this time I'm gonna press here merge at the last. So what it does is just basically it merges the 2 vertices at the last one that I select. You can also see here that the last one selected is lighter, is basically white, and the first it is orange. So if I select lots of points here, the last one will always be white and will be the one who will remains in place if I merge at the last. So I'm gonna do the same here. We can just select here and press Shift R to repeat the last operation. I'm gonna do the same here and here. Start to do things a little bit faster. And here. So before we get rid of these holes here, actually I'm gonna delete these 2 paths here because they are not really needed, as the track will actually go through here. So I'm gonna select this. Actually, I'm gonna select the vertices like this and expand with Ctrl plus and delete the faces. So that's gonna work better. So I'm gonna start to go in here into the top view. You can also press the 7 on the alphanumeric keyboard. And I'm gonna select the loop with Alt and click and extrude here to the inside a couple of times. And now I actually gonna use a better way of doing this. I'm gonna select here, type here grid, and select this grid fill. It will not work right now because it says here that I had to have 2 edges selected. So I'm gonna deselect part of this one, and now it should work just fine. So grid fill, it makes a nicer topology, and you can go as well in the sculpt mode and press Shift to even a little bit the topology here. So it has, of course, too many faces here. We can simplify this later on, but for now I'm gonna keep it that way, so as it will be a little bit more easy for us to work with. I'm gonna do the same here, select and extrude once inwards. Deselect two parts here. Do the grid fill. Okay, it's a little bit worse than the other time, but I guess we could smooth it out as well. Now we're gonna do about the same, but with this outer edge here. And actually I'm gonna start by trying to remove this inner triangle here. So I'm gonna select two loops here, clicking and pressing Control to the next part of the loop, like this, and right clicking bridge edge loops. Okay, now I'm gonna add a little more. I'm gonna add some loops here with Control R, and I'm gonna do the same here, selecting everything, then deselecting part of it to let just two loops, and grid fill. A little bit funky, but I'm gonna move it out on the scoop mode. Now to get a little bit more geometry here around this, I'm gonna extrude once more and try to transform this into a square. So I'm gonna select here the top faces, scale only on the y-axis by 0. The same here on the bottom. Now on the sides here, I'm gonna scale on the x-axis, and the same here, s, x, and 0. Then I'm gonna select these edges, extrude on the y-axis, same here on the bottom, and same here. Now I just gotta, well, oh, you can see here that everything has disappeared when I zoom out. And that's why you have to go on the right menu here, pressing N. And here on the view, you can change these clip settings. This basically keeps Blender from showing everything on the universe. So it will stop showing things at 1,000 meters. 1,000? So I just have to increase this number here, 2 more zeros, and you might be good to go. If you start to experience some artifacts on the way it is showing the faces, you must as well increase a little bit the clip start, because you cannot have a big amount of space here between these two values. So I'm gonna keep it as it was, this, and now I'm gonna shoot the last one here and add a little bit of more loops, and it's also missing more loops here. So I can give a little bit of a smooth here, the sculpt mode. And again, I'm not looking for use fewer faces and geometry overall right now, because we can do that always later on. You can always simplify things. Now I'm gonna stick to that idea of making one side like taller here, and the other one like it was a downhill, like everything is on the side of a mountain, like this. So I'm gonna go to the edit mode, select a few faces here, of here, and with the proportional editing here active, I'm gonna pull everything up. Just be cautious here. Be cautious here for you to not bring that two first layers of vertices up to this, and get something like this. And then on this side, I'm gonna select these faces here and bring everything down. There you actually sculpt a little bit. And I'll add a couple more of mountains around here, so you can have a little bit more interesting things to watch. I'll actually use a modifier to give it a little bit more of fine detail. I'm gonna use a displace modifier and create a new texture and select here clouds. Maybe see, increase a little bit. No, freeze. It is of course too much. Something like this. Okay, maybe we should have a little bit more of geometry. We may add a couple of more edge loops here. Control R. What we actually need is a better texture, but this will work for now. I'm just going to create a group here, so we can not let it dispatch around here. Select everything here. I'm gonna assign it, and here I'm gonna choose the vertex group, and and choose this button here to invert the selection. Now we gotta displacing everything but this part around the edge. So now we need to fix this ugly texture, and it's actually almost everything the UVs, they are wrong. And actually I'm gonna go to the shader editor, and I'm gonna make sure this is the UV editor, and I'm gonna go here to the top view. You can also just press the 7 number on the numpad button. I'm gonna select everything and unwrap it. Press U to unwrap and project from view. Now everything is nice and unwrapped. You can check here by turning off the show overlays. Now I'm gonna scale this up so the texture will appear to be smaller here. Look here. I think this is much closer now. And I already created a new material here, but I actually think that I'm gonna just leave everything as a grass, and we may have got that bug again. Go here on the scene, hit minus, hit plus, and select the word. So and this looks actually so bad that I'm gonna add another texture here. So I'm gonna use actually this other one and keep the alpha here as well. I'm going to select here these mountains, name it, and plug it back. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna just make a better selection here with our blend. I'm gonna paint everything, actually I'm gonna paint everything dark black, okay? And then I can paint here in the middle, should the other way around. Paint white, paint white now. So right now we can see that this one looks fine, but the mountain zone doesn't look fine at all. So I'm gonna create another UV for it. So I'm gonna go here on the object data, press this plus under the UV maps. I'm gonna call it mountains. And by having it selected here, I'm gonna go here to the UV editor, and actually first of all I'm gonna copy here the name and plug it here, mountains. Okay, now I'm gonna scale it down, actually down. See, maybe something like this. Let me see, maybe a little bit smaller. Now that the textures are looking better, we can go over here and deal with the blending on this part here. This will be a little bit tricky, but stay with me. So you can see here, as you can see, we have these two arrays of faces we copied, and that's what we're gonna use on our favor to make the blending. Again, there's lots of ways of doing this, and this is one I find that works out best. You can have a little bit more freedom with the surface around it, and just works. I'm gonna start by selecting the loops here. We can press the slash key on the number pad. It will isolate the mesh. It's pretty handy. I'm gonna select here all the loops that are at the border. I'm gonna expand the selection with Ctrl plus a couple times. I'm gonna also select those ones. With the right button, I'm gonna release it, and pressing P, separate the selection. Now it has created another mesh. Let me rename it with something like maybe blend. Okay, I'm gonna jump over the shading right now, and I'm gonna press this tree here that says how many users does this texture have. If I press here, it will create another shader with another textures. Everything here has a new name. So I'm gonna actually rename this as blend. And here also is gonna be called blend. Actually, it doesn't need it. It could be the grass, the original grass. So I'm gonna just select here in the drop down menu. What I have to do though is delete these textures here and disable the diffuse texture 2 here, because we also gonna use another type of object here in the settings, RBR object settings. We're gonna choose the object blocks. This here is mostly used to make trees, vegetation in general, because they can't generate a collision, but they can use transparency. So if you try to use here two textures with this object type, it will just turn red here, just telling you that this is not gonna work. And now our blend attribute here just will gonna act like a transparent mask. So I'm gonna, if I paint right over here, it will actually show us nothing, because you have to go here on the shader, and here on the settings you have to change the blend mode either to alpha blend or alpha hashed. Being the alpha hashed better, because the alpha blend has some visual artifacts, and the alpha hashed also looks better on the game. So if I paint here now, switch colors, we can see that, let me isolate here. You can see a lot of transparency. Actually is everything transparent. Let me put the black color, actually the white color, and press Shift K. Now everything is solid. And I can switch to the black color and paint here, start to paint the transparency. But actually there's a better way, and I'm gonna select here the isolate, select the whole face. Here and here, switch back to the Vertex Paint, get this mask here, and Shift K. Oh, actually that's not gonna work. We gotta use the vertex mask here. So Shift K, now everything is transparent. We go back here, and I'm gonna move this mesh up a little bit so it can show the whatever is underneath it. Now we see a little bit of this, and I'm gonna do the same with this other side here. Select everything, go to the Vertex Paint and Shift K. I'm gonna bring back the side mesh here, and we actually need to delete a couple faces here. Let me hide the blend, go to the object mode, and let me see here. We have a couple faces hiding the mesh beneath it. So I'm gonna select this and just select all of them. And now I'm gonna increase the selection by 1 and delete the faces. Now if you go back, it will be just on the edge here. And if I turn on now my blend mesh, it will be nice and smooth transition. It has some artifacts here, but I can just go on the blend and maybe sculpt a little bit with the grab brush. Let me go back to the layout here, and I'm gonna sculpt a little bit so it will hide it. This, okay. Now it is looking a lot better, but it's time for us to deal with this cross section here and make it look a lot. I'm gonna isolate here real quick. I'm gonna delete a couple of loops here. This one and this. Actually, I'm gonna make some adjustment here. I'm gonna select this face underneath, and with proportional editing, I'm gonna make some tweaks. Maybe this is the time for us to even apply the curve modifier. Okay, so I'm gonna save it real quick and add another version here, just in case I need to go back to this one where I have the curve. So let's see, I'm gonna apply it. Curve modifier cannot apply a mesh with modifiers, so we're gonna use that quick menu we have added and convert the mesh to a mesh. Now everything is applied, and I'm gonna delete these remaining vertices here. Now what I'm gonna do is just add another loop here and start to weld these vertices together. So merge at center, Shift R to repeat the last action. I'm gonna merge all of them together. Not these two. So now that everything is fine together, get out of the isolated mode, and now I'm gonna make some more adjustments here. So the transition is better now. If you want to take this and go one step even further, you may want to disable all the overlays here, maybe go into full screen, and here on the top vision, press 7, okay. I'm gonna take a screenshot, okay, like this, and we can go over to Photoshop or something, paste it. So what you may want to do is just maybe add some textures on top here. I actually don't enjoy painting on Photoshop, but we can go maybe with this mirror brush and make something like this, maybe like this. We can also bring our texture here, gravel road, copy, turn this around like this, make it a better square, and I'm gonna cut it like a square here, something like this. I'm gonna change here the dimensions to 348. Actually here has to be, and I'm gonna paste here my texture, make it smaller, okay, like this. Oh, something like this. It might be a little bit time consuming, especially if it is the first time, but now I'm gonna turn the background transparent, and I'm gonna Ctrl Shift S and save it here. I'm gonna choose here the GDS because I already have the plugin installed, and I'm gonna call it Cross. Save it. This need to be in DTX5 for it to contain his transparency. And alpha channel, I'm gonna just choose here transparency. It's gonna transform the transparency on the alpha channel. So, okay. And once more, I'm gonna go here with my 3D cursor right over here. File, import, and images as planes, here textures, and get my cross here. Now I can already click here on the hashed blend mode. You can see it doesn't look good because once again you have to go on the shading and make it have the same shading of the other objects. And now I'm gonna just go here on select these nodes, press Ctrl C and paste them here, right here. And once again I don't need to have two textures. Let me delete this one, and I'm just gonna skip to the blend, which it also doesn't have here. So I'm gonna press the plus button, call it blend. You can actually call them alpha. Actually, it's not an attribute, it's a common mistake. Perhaps here, actually it's color attribute. Alpha, face corner, batch color. Pass the name alpha here. And everything is actually tarmac grass. Let me put the proper name here, cross. And I'm gonna choose here my texture once again, cross. Now everything is much better, and I actually need to rotate this. You maybe just scoop this part here a little bit closer, which will get underneath the blend texture. Now what I'm gonna do is actually isolate here. I'm gonna put some loops here so I can cut it a little bit closer to the transparency. This might be it. Delete. I'm gonna subdivide it a couple times with the right button here, subdivide, repeat a little bit, and I'm gonna add a modifier here. It will be the shrink wrap modifier. I'm gonna click on my road mesh here, and it will like stick to the ground. And I'm gonna actually give it a little bit of an offset here, so it will not be like exactly where the other faces are. And once again, you have to go here on the object modes, object blocks. So that's fine. And I'm gonna save it again.